Today we head to Canada, where the mayor of Toronto is in the headlines again after a new video emerged, apparently showing him drunk. Rob Ford reacted by saying that what he does in his personal life is private. Despite a series of embarrassing revelations, including his use of crack cocaine, the mayor has decided to run for another term, and he's confident he can win. Ford is backed by a strong base of voters dubbed the Ford Nation that got him elected in 2010. Why do they continue to support him? Our team in Toronto went to find out.
When he's down there, I'll rip his fucking throat out, I'll pull his eyes out, when he's dead, I'll make sure that motherfucker's dead. I need fucking 10 minutes.
In this video that came out last November, Toronto Mayor Rob Ford is completely drunk and he's shouting threats. It's one of the many scandals that he had to face last year. 2013 was riddled by controversies for him, revelations of his drug use and alcohol abuse, lies, and a police inquiry that led to this apology.
I know I embarrassed everyone in this city, and I will be forever sorry.
As a result, Toronto's Municipal Council took away most of his powers. And despite calls for Ford to step down, he's hanging on. He knows he can count on what's known as the Ford Nation to help him out for the next elections. The Ford Nation lives in places like this. Etobicoke, west of Toronto, is a mix of humble and rich neighborhoods. Rob Ford was first elected here as a city councillor back in 2000. Nowadays, his brother Doug is occupying the chair. He says it's impossible to quit politics.
Our family's been here in Etobicoke for over 60 years. There was dirt roads when we first came here. And we've employed a lot of people. We've given back to charities, every charity you can think of, every sports team you can think of, anyone that needs our help, we go to their front door and help them.
And that's the Ford method.
I know the fence is far back enough.
For this building contractor that came to the city council for one of his projects, Rob Ford is the best.
He's a true mayor, I put it that way. So he's a guy that grew up with nothing. He was rich, and now he knows. He even gives his money back to the city. He donates it back. What alderman or what councilman would ever do that? No one would, so.
No one, except perhaps Doug. He wants to show us apartments for social housing in a poor and confined neighborhood. Ironically, Rob Ford has voted regularly against projects for social housing. Here, the sport facility was closed for years. Doug Ford invested his own money to support a local basketball team, just like his brother did years ago. Being surrounded by these kids, Doug Ford says, feels like home.
Gotta get the tie off here.
Despite a rich upbringing, their way of doing things forge an image of simple and open men that fight against the elite. Rob Ford is still supported by a large pool of low-income voters, according to a poll.
They know all the good that you give back and that we're sincere and we care about these folks. A lot of politicians don't care. All they care about is getting a paycheck, going home, and that's it. I'm not here for the paycheck. I'm here to help people. Ladies first.
The Fords spends lavishly, pizzas for the kids, even sometimes money distributed directly to their parents. Doug Ford did it, and it stirred a controversy. This evangelical pastor lives in the area nearby. Each time he needed help from the Ford brothers, they showed up. For him, it's enough to forgive the mayor and his scandals.
Everybody needs a second chance. And he do what he have to do, and he trying his best. We have to just move on. I think right now he's the best mayor.
Rob Ford not only managed to speak to the working class. North York is another suburb north of the city, where Vivian Ramirez, an interior designer, lives with her son, Sebastian, 15. Both are backing up Rob Ford as a mayor. Sebastian even created a Facebook page to help him out. For them, what Rob Ford does is a matter of private life. Vivian Ramirez mostly supported the mayor because of his cuts in the city councilor's budget, a move that led to savings of up to $1 billion to the city, some say.
He may not be as diplomatic as he should be, but he's speaking the truth and trying to do something, have some respect for our tax dollars. That's the main thing. Respect for our tax dollars, because in Canada, we pay high taxes.
A stone's throw away from the mayor's office in downtown Toronto, where the voters were mostly against Ford, opinions are divided. Some clients in this restaurant admit they are embarrassed, but they still consider voting for the mayor next October.
Scandal has been kind of rampant throughout politics as long as I can remember. And if he's doing a good job, as far as his job description goes as mayor, I mean, I don't I personally don't see anything wrong with it. So.
Despite all the controversies, up to 40% of Toronto's population still has a favorable opinion of the mayor. Rob Ford has 10 months to convince the remaining.
Now, we're going to cross to Davos for the World Economic Forum. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is addressing business leaders there. Let's take a listen.
Look to the man on your right and put him on your shoulders. I did. He was a pretty big guy, about my size. The next guy, he said, who was the smallest man in the platoon, he said, put the guy to your right on your shoulders. And he got the biggest guy in the platoon. And the third soldier, who was a big guy, received a small person, and so on. And then the commander blew the whistle. And I could barely take a few steps. The little guy with me carrying the biggest guy in the platoon collapsed. And the third guy shot forward like a rocket and took the race. I said in the international economy, I said then, I say now, in the global economy, all national economies are pairs of a public sector sitting on the shoulders of the private sector who has to carry the race. In our case, 10 years ago in Israel, the guy at the top, the fat man became too fat. And we had to put him on a diet, hard to do. We had to cut government spending. We had to give a lot of oxygen to the thin man at the bottom, which meant cutting taxes, and we did. And then we had to remove all the barriers to the competition, a ditch, a fence, a wall, so that the thin man could run forward and compete. What we did then, we must do now, and if we don't do, and we just passed a bill in the government to fight cartels and monopolies. And I think that this is the most interesting, the most important condition. It's a prerequisite for innovation, requiring no innovation, but requiring a lot of political will and a lot of clarity. So conceptually, it's very easy to do. Politically, very difficult, but necessary. And since then, we've grown at roughly 4.6% a year in the decade that is followed. We brought down our debt to GDP ratio from over 100% to about 67% where it is now. We've brought down our inflation, and we've brought down our unemployment. It's now about 6%. So we have that macroeconomic platform, and any of you thinking of coming to Israel, you're coming to a well-managed country. We have our problems, as does everyone, but we manage this. Now innovation. It's not enough.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, speaking to business leaders there in Davos. It's time now for a short break here on Live from Paris. I'll be back in a few minutes with the headlines. And after the news, I'll be joined by Jessica Michaud, who'll be telling us all about the haute couture shows that just wrapped up here in Paris. Stay tuned for that and plenty more.